SpaceX is racing toward a version 3 Starship Flight 12 at speeds no one would have deemed possible. Guess how far Super Heavy Booster 19 is built after only 2 weeks? Starship 39 is getting ready for cryo tests, and what we saw on our heli flight over SpaceX's Florida Starship project is mind-boggling. Falcon 9 catapults the US into space heaven, the ISS is about to get toasted, and China's reusable rockets are catching up faster and faster. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. In the last episode, I told you that a possible Flight 12 timeline depends on more than just booster and ship stacking. It depends on Pad 2 progress, as that's the only pad in the world close to supporting version 3 Starships. Now, as if I had predicted the next few days, SpaceX is following exactly that outline. On December 5th and 6th, we saw consecutive deluge water tests run on Pad 2. Our very own Jordan was out there for us and got some very nice footage of what looks like an almost finished pad now. And I also told you that it depends on this peculiar test tank. Ship 39.1 is a test tank derived from Ship 39. It uses the same tech, but it's the test article for validation. And those validations are crucial for SpaceX to continue with Flight 12. Both the version 3 Super Heavy booster and the ship differ in so many ways from version 2 that they need these validation tests before launch. They just need to make very sure everything works as intended. Well, good news! In typical SpaceX fashion, everything went very quickly. The tests have begun. According to the Lab Padre space camera feed of Massey's, Ship 39.1 has performed 3 consecutive cryo tests over the past 3 days. And where the first test was just a short fill to make sure everything fits, the second test was a 6-hour cryo deep freeze. SpaceX did an extensive test here, and it is no surprise. If SpaceX wants to avoid new hiccups with Starship version 3, it needs to validate off a lot of things before a launch. And I also told you that SpaceX would likely wait before they do any cryo tests with Ship 39, and I also told you that SpaceX would likely wait before they do any cryo tests with Ship 39, the first real version 3 Starship, until crucial tests with S39.1 are done. It's hard to say if those 3 tests were enough, but it's lots of progress since the last episode. With a little luck, I might have been wrong about Ship 39 needing to wait for a month or 2 until those tests are performed. At this speed, SpaceX might be closer to sending Ship 39 to Massey's. And the next big item on my list to be ticked off was Raptor 3. Oh boy, I love this episode. So much progress, take a look at this. Sometimes I feel like a little kid when researching these things. SpaceX posted the craziest Raptor 3 video ever on December 3rd. It shows 6 minutes and 40 seconds of pure Raptor 3 glory. 6 minutes and 30 seconds because it's a complete Starship version 3 ascent burn. The whole 9 yards. Well, technically a bit more than that. And for the first time, it also gives us an excellent and long duration view of this strange engine. While the test progresses, you can see ice forming on the power head. This is due to the active cooling element on Raptor 3. SpaceX's idea is that if you actively cool the engine on the outside, it won't need shielding. Thus, you save weight. Fascinating to see it work. Extremely hot and very icy areas are right next to each other. Sharp contrast lines form between these parts. And what can also be seen if you look very carefully is that the engine sways left and right throughout the test. This isn't by accident. It's the TVC or thrust vector control system of the engine working. But what this footage shows is that Raptor 3 is ready. It's validation testing for a reason, and it worked. Otherwise, SpaceX wouldn't have posted the footage. This means that Raptor 3 is likely ready for mass production at this point. And again, all this happened since the last episode. SpaceX is on a roll here. Next, we have Booster 18's remnants. They are now gone. SpaceX rolled both aft and forward sections, which still remained at the test site on the last episode, back to the production site for analysis and scrapping later on. So, Booster 18 is history, and after some cleanup and possibly minor repairs that shouldn't take too long at all, SpaceX can get ready to try again. And this brings us to Booster 19. It exploded. Okay, just joking. SpaceX is in crunch time. Since November 28th, SpaceX rolled 4 ring segments into Mega Bay 1, all comprised of 4 rings each. 16 rings taller in 10 days. That's 1.8 meters per ring, and that's almost 29 meters of hull added in 10 days. And as I just wanted to finish today's episode research, SpaceX also moved the massive transfer tube for booster 19 to Megabay 1. So the hull seems ready to receive the finisher for the lower LOX tank, which opens the way for methane tank stacking. As soon as the tube is mated to the booster, SpaceX will stack higher. This honestly is nuts. That's all there is to say about it. If SpaceX continues like this, I see no problem with this booster being ready for cryo tests before New Year's. This would be an incredible record and a massive sign that Starship version 3 is made for mass production, much more than the versions before it. Now let's do the big one for Starship on this episode. We were up with a helicopter at Cape Canaveral after an arguably much too long time, and what we saw was nothing short of impossible. First, let's talk about something once thought impossible until just recently. If you are as obsessed with spaceflight and SpaceX as I am, you know Elon's pushing boundaries in space. But SpaceX isn't publicly traded yet, leaving us grounded on investment opportunities. Anyone who's tried knows. You can't easily invest in SpaceX if you're not already super rich. So how are we supposed to profit from it all? That's why I'm sharing a game-changing sector tied to Elon's vision with you, humanoid robots. AI and soon physical AI, aka walking and talking robots, are major topics reshaping our future. There is a reason why Musk doesn't just build rockets. He knows. That is why he also has this handsome fella in his lineup, Optimus. And he's just one of many humanoid robots in active development right now. The 2020 global shutdown exposed America's reliance on foreign manufacturing, sparking a national security wake-up call. Fast forward to 2025's DeepSeek moment and it is clear China isn't far behind and the US must master not just rockets but AI and robotics as well. A Mars colony won't work without these guys anyway. This AI race, fueled by national security, is creating a wealth opportunity larger than the planet's entire GDP. Those aren't my words either. Ever heard of Morgan Stanley? Enter humanoid robots, the next frontier after compute and quantum. They'll disrupt a $40 trillion global workforce from robot brains to batteries and sensors. Today's sponsor, Global Humanoid Holdings with the ticker RBOHF, is a rare pure play in this sector. As a publicly traded venture capital firm, RBOHF invests in cutting-edge humanoid robot startups, giving you access to this cutting-edge market. Available on interactive brokers Schwab, Fidelity, and E-Trade, it's a first mover in a field where Tesla, Meta, and even nations like the US and China are already all in. SpaceX may be private, but Global Humanoid Holdings lets you enter the robotics revolution without being a billionaire. Research it today and join the future. They've already invested in Aptronic, Agility Robots, RideScan, How2 Robot, and Formic. Check out their website down below. Now here's why I just told you that what we saw was nothing short of impossible. Let's start with the obvious, Roberts Road, SpaceX's Florida coast starbase. And it becomes increasingly clear that exactly that is the plan. You can see that the site is divided into three elements right now. In the upper right, we have Hangar X. This is SpaceX's Falcon processing facility. Refurbishment and maintenance of boosters and fairings is done here. 4 fairings can be seen just casually bathing in the Florida sun at one of the gates. Directly under it, we have a mix of Star Factory equivalent on the bottom and a staging area for large construction elements. Here we can see all the needed tower segments for the first Mechazilla to be built at Slick 37, which we'll get to in a minute as well. We can see chopsticks and a chopstick carriage. A new ship quick disconnect arm can be seen in the movable tent above. It looks very similar to what we just saw lifted onto the Mechazilla at Starbase's Pad 2. And to the north, or to the left in our images, you can see the current state of the Florida Gigabay. And it is now 6 beams tall, and all 4 cranes are working double shifts in the same way as they do at Starbase. Given the entire footprint of the cleared area, this should only be the first construction step. There will be more coming for Roberts Road down the line. More segments to stack the cranes higher are already on site as well, ready to support the growing building. And you haven't seen anything yet. Richard Gallagher, one of our photographers and one you should follow on X, has outdone himself. Next up, let's take a look at Pad 39A, or as I now call it, Construction Site 39A. But first, if you want to help us make even better content and fly more often in a helicopter, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value and become a wise supporter for those extra heli flights. Be our fuel, chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. Thank you very much. Alright, back into the helicopter. Take a look at this shot of 39A. We already knew this entire entire place was a construction site from Harry Stranger's satellite images. But a satellite image is taken far away, so resolution becomes an issue. Not so in our images. I present to you construction site 39A in the highest resolution you will find anywhere. This is officially nuts. Let's go step by step here. The Starship pad itself is far along. Sheet piles extend the entire length of the flame diverter. Staged material is literally everywhere. This is like a Where's Waldo image. There is not a spot that's not utilized. Large pipes are visible behind the tower, likely for the deluge system. The LOX farm is growing as well. On the left side of the tower, a bit in the background, we can see a new foundation being prepared. I expect this to be an equipment bunker. The commodities raceway from the growing tank farm is now extending out toward the pad. In short, Pad 39A is in massive flux. Likely the most significant construction effort here since the Apollo days. A possible catch tower for Starship and landing zones for Falcon rockets would likely go right behind SpaceX's 39A hangar. An air separation unit is planned for this site as well. Starships are so large that transporting all the commodities to the site via trucks becomes almost impossible when we enter faster launch cadence regimes. And that's not even all. What Richard found at Cape Canaveral was crazy. It is not just 39A. Here's Space Launch Complex 37. Located inside the Space Force station and recently approved for full Starship construction, 76 launches and more than 150 landings per year from one location. From two towers. The old hump-shaped blockhouse from the Apollo days can be seen at the entrance. It will be kept for historical reasons. Everything else is already gone or will disappear soon. ULA's old VIB, or Vehicle Integration Building for Delta launches, is long gone, and the site is swarming with excavators and other construction equipment. Terrain grading is the first step, then the place will look like 39A for a year or so, and then Starship flights will be all over the place. Together with the two pads at Starbase, the one at 39A, and a minimum of 2 towers planned for Slick 37, SpaceX will possess 5 Starship pads. More than what they have for Falcon 9 right now. The exponential growth curve is upon us, my Starship friends. Where 5 or 10 Starship launches per year seem a lot right now, this will change drastically in 26 and 27. And we are still not done, as it's not just SpaceX turning this place into some sort of construction frenzy. How about Space Launch Complex 14? Does John Glenn ring a bell? This pad is where he embarked on his historic flight. This is where the first American ever flew to space. Stoke Space has been busy preventing history. Stoke Space has been busy preserving history by leaving the entrance with the blockhouse untouched. I once stepped into this building and let me tell you, it is worth keeping. Now Stoke seems ready. Construction equipment has largely been moved off-site. The way is clear for a first Nova launch. Another rocket you should be very interested in. On July 28, 2025, Stoke Space adjusted the target date of the inaugural launch to early 2026. That's okay, Andy. Take your time. We can wait. Next, we have Relativity Space at Space Launch Complex 16. This is what the site looked like in April of 2024. The horizontal integration facility is clearly visible. The 18.3 meter tall water tower, freshly built for the pad, is now fully erected. The pad support facility is still in early stages of construction as well. And this is what it looks like now. Larger than Stoke's efforts, but not as far along. This site isn't finished yet. Again, the blockhouse is preserved. Thank you. Relativity released a massive update in October, as they do every month. Thank you, Relativity. In this update, we can see the construction efforts up close. A first launch of Terran R is still slated for 2026. Fingers crossed, you rock. Lastly, for this construction frenzy, we are circling back to SpaceX one more time. This is Space Launch Complex 40, SpaceX's second Falcon pad. On September 2nd, the FAA approved modifications and approved a raised launch cadence of up to 120 Falcon 9 launches from this pad per year. What they also approved was the construction of a landing pad and up to 34 first stage landings per year. Approved 3 months ago, and it already looks done. This landing zone and others at other pads are being built based on a new rule that the Space Force introduced a couple of months ago. What launches at a pad must land at the same pad or off-site. So while SpaceX can still land on barges without problems, their return to launch site landings must now be done at the same same pad the rocket launched from. So this is the current state of the Space Coast. It's a construction frenzy along the entire coast. And honestly, it makes me incredibly happy to see this. When I started why 6 years ago, we could all just hope for this. 6 years later, and it is turning into reality. Go Stoke, Relativity, Blue Origin, and SpaceX, you are building our future in space. Over the past decade, SpaceX has fundamentally reshaped the global space launch landscape. No surprises here. But did you know that it has already nearly doubled America's cumulative mass ever delivered to orbit and is effectively closing a gap with Russia that had persisted since the space race era? This change began in 2022, when the SpaceX Falcon rocket launched the United States for the first time into the lead over China in total launches. Up until this point, the total mass placed into orbit by the US since 1957 stood at approximately 15,000 to 16,000 tons. Last year, SpaceX alone had delivered 1,498 tons to orbit. This year, the company surpassed the cumulative 5,000-ton mark. SpaceX has initiated a surprising shift. As recently as 2013, nearly half of the world's commercial launch payloads were launched on Russian vehicles. No doubt the legacy of the USSR's dominance in the first space race. Yes, I know America was first on the moon, but all the other milestones were Russian. By 2018, Russia's market share had already collapsed to roughly 10%. In 2024, Russia performed just 17 launches, while SpaceX had already ramped up its launch cadence to 134 launches in a single year. 2025 will further widen this gap. Over the past decade, SpaceX has launched nearly 75% of all spacecraft globally. Oh, really? With about 33% of all rockets being its own. This transformation represents the most significant shift in space access. It is driven largely by Falcon 9's reusability and the Starlink constellation's relentless launch cadence. We can expect another dramatic rise in these numbers once Starship enters regular service. And I still remember people asking what exactly SpaceX would launch with all those rockets. Its own payloads. Simple. And they are not done. Those views I showed you of Cape Canaveral foreshadow what's to come. From a great outlook for SpaceX, let's move on to a great outlook for all mankind. November 25th was a day for celebration for the engineers and scientists at the Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Technicians mated the inner and outer portions of the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope in Goddard's largest cleanroom. It marked the end of the telescope's construction phase. This development and construction phase began almost 10 years ago on February 17, 2016, when the observatory was approved for development and launch. Is this too long? Could this be done quicker? Let me know in the comments. NASA Associate Administrator Amit Kshatriya summarized the team's feelings on this day. This team has delivered piece by piece and test by test an observatory that will expand our understanding of the universe. And he's right. But what makes the Roman Space Telescope so special? First of all, it's equipped with a 300 megapixel wide field instrument. That is superhero level vision, truly incredible. And the biggest difference? This sensor boasts a field of view 100 times larger than Hubble's, allowing it to capture vast panoramas of the universe. Where Hubble is like peeking through the keyhole, Roman is opening the door. During Roman's 5-year primary mission, NASA expects the telescope to unveil more than 100,000 exoplanets, hundreds of millions of stars, and billions of galaxies. Billions of galaxies. What? The telescope also carries a coronagraph instrument that uses complex masks and active mirrors to block starlight. It allows astronomers to image faint exoplanets directly, like actual images of the planets, not just indirect indicators like the dimming of a parent star. That prospect makes you forget that 10-year development period, right? After final testing, Roman will move to Kennedy Space Center in Florida for launch preparations in summer 2026. The mission is formally scheduled to launch by May 2027, but in this case, a NASA project is running ahead of schedule, opening a window for a potential liftoff as early as fall 2026 aboard a SpaceX SpaceX Falcon Heavy. While the Roman telescope is preparing to enter service, time is running out for an icon. After 25 years of continuous human presence, the International Space Station is heading into its final 5 years of planned habitation. On Sunday, veteran Roscosmos cosmonaut and station commander Sergei Ryzhikov handed over a symbolic key representing command of the orbital outpost. The ISS has had 74 commanders so far. As a fun fact, the key is a copy of the handle for opening hatches to the Russian segment. The new commander, Mike Finke, formally assumes responsibility for station operations and the new Expedition 74 crew upon the previous commander's departure from the ISS. Ryzhikov, as well as flight engineers Alexei Zubritsky of Roscosmos and Johnny Kim of NASA, are scheduled to depart the station inside their Soyuz today. The trio aboard the Soyuz descent module will land in Kazakhstan less than 3.5 hours later, completing an 8-month mission in orbit. 2026 is just a few weeks away. 5 more years are left for the International Space Station. The United States, Japan, Canada, and the ESA member countries have committed to operating the station through 2030. Russia has committed to continue operations through at least 2028. NASA and its partners will begin winding down station operations gradually. When its final years have come, it is time to say a very long goodbye. The ISS is getting ready to put up one final fiery show. According to ISS program manager Dana Weigel, the station will be slowly lowered using orbital drag and the station's thrusters over the course of 2 to 2.5 years. But in the very end, it will need one big final push, and we already know how to accomplish this. NASA has announced that SpaceX has been selected to develop and deliver the US deorbit vehicle that will provide the capability to deorbit the space station. But what about it? Why do they even need a spacecraft to decommission the ISS? Doesn't gravity do the job just fine? Of course, the ISS would progressively descend until it touches the upper atmosphere, breaks apart, and mostly evaporates on re-entry, as shown in these brilliant animations by Hayes Grayart. But there is this mostly in the equation. Some debris likely survives re-entry. Therefore, it is vital to avoid risks to populated areas. You know? This can only be guaranteed by controlling the descent as long as possible. The final push also increases the destructive effect during re-entry. But the show isn't over yet. Let's enjoy these final years of one of the most valuable scientific instruments in history. Honestly, scientists from across the globe have gathered here, creating a family of equals in this home away from home. When that final curtain draws, the ISS will be missed. Now, how close to the target did China get? Over in China, Landspace has begun the detailed analysis of its first Juche 3 orbital test after the reusable rocket's booster was lost during its first attempted landing. After a flawless launch, trouble started only after stage separation. The returning first stage crashed hard, but incredibly close to its designated target. I mean, look at that! Landspace confirmed that it collected critical technical data throughout the ascent, re-entry, and landing attempt, providing the basis for optimizing the rocket's design and recovery procedures. It is clear that the company is on a very good path toward becoming the first non-US company to establish reusability. I am very much looking forward to the next Juche 3 launch attempt, and you can be very sure we'll report on Landspace's progress right here on Why. Alright, welcome back to the Why Countdown, your rapid-fire look behind the curtain at everything that keeps this channel blasting off. Today I'm answering a question many have asked me before. Why am I interested in spaceflight? Well, it all started when I was 6 years old. I saw the Challenger catastrophe on our TV at home and thought it looked amazing. Little did that 6-year-old boy know that this wasn't something to cheer for. Nonetheless, it sparked my interest in space, and so the brave Challenger crew gave me that spark you see today. It never stopped after that. What is your story? Why are you interested in spaceflight? Let me and everyone else know in the comments. When this community locks arms, nothing is out of reach. Thanks for being our rocket fuel. We're all in this mission together. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore, and we're running a huge 20% off Christmas sale. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description. And if you want to know how SpaceX managed to build Raptor 3, the new Starship powerhouse, and what makes it special, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.